What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another video. As you can see here, we have the rabbit truck once again. There's been a lot of videos on this thing, but just been getting a lot of stuff done with it and really buttoning it up, this project, getting this thing where we want it to be. And today's video is going to be more of that. Now, if you follow me on Instagram, you may have seen, but I got this thing aligned recently and that really helped it a ton. So thanks a lot to AP Tuning for that. Definitely made this thing drive better, but there are still just two more things that we need to fix in the front suspension. After that, everything will be dialed in. Now, the first thing with that is, and this is kind of something that was fine and now it is no longer fine, but I had an incident the other day. I was driving it back from Marco Madness and I hit the brakes and it pulled to the right incredibly hard, which is a telltale sign of an issue in the braking system and an issue with the calipers. So I went ahead and picked up two remanufactured front calipers off of AutoZone. It was not Advanced Auto. And one cool thing about that was that I ordered these and they were next day delivery, so that was super cool. That's always really helpful when you can get the parts you need as quick as you need them, so that was super cool. But ended up getting these delivered and that's going to be the ticket for getting these front brakes fixed, I'm hoping, so we'll see. But got those and we're going to be installing those in this video. Also, right here we have two brand new front wheel bearings and this front wheel bearing kit, which I'm going to be showing you guys in this video how to install wheel bearings in your Mark 1 with this kit. This kit was about, if I remember correctly, $120. I'll insert the actual price here, but this is about $120 from what I can remember. And this tool, I have used it actually twice at this point, and it is a really great tool and it makes this job go way better than honestly I expected. This tool works really cool and I'm really excited to show you guys that on this video and show you how to do it, because if you don't have a hydraulic press, it can be really a pain to get wheel bearings done on these cars that have these press-in wheel bearings, and in this case, that's what we have going on. So that is honestly why I've been procrastinating installing these, was because I didn't actually have the proper tools to do it. So we now have the proper tool to do it, and we're going to be doing that. Also have some truck bed coating, because that is actually what I put on all my suspension on vehicles that I build. So if you can see in there, you can't because it's black, but if you can see in there, there is black truck bed liner paint on everything. I put that on all my suspension components and all the stuff I build because it holds up well, it protects the surface. As long as you clean it well, it adheres perfectly and it'll stay on and it'll keep that stuff from getting deteriorated from road grime and everything like that. So this stuff, super good, and I'm going to be putting that on these new calipers. Number one, because it'll match the rest of the suspension, but also because it'll protect them from rusting and things like that. So we're going to be doing that. So it is a couple days later. The calipers are all dry. They're all ready to go. So looking good. Definitely happy with how that came out. Highly recommend Rust-Oleum truck bed coating for sure. Definitely worked out well for what we needed it to. Now there is one thing we're going to do before we even jack this car up to go ahead and put these new wheel bearings in, and that is we're going to take them upstairs and go ahead and put them inside of the freezer, as crazy as that sounds. There you go, right in there. Now I'm sure you guys are probably wondering, why exactly are we putting the wheel bearings into the freezer? And the reason for that is because when you put the metal into a cold environment, such as the freezer there, it will cause the metal to contract, and that will make it a lot easier to install in the truck. This is a common thing. I'm not a mad scientist or anything like that. This is a common thing to do with wheel bearings, and it makes them way easier to install because, like I said, it causes the metal to contract, and it makes it a lot easier to put into the vehicle or whatever you're doing with them. So that's why we go ahead and put them in now, because I'm going to go ahead and take this all apart, and then by the time we are ready to put the new one in, it's going to be all cold and it's going to have contracted, and it's going to be a lot easier to put in. It's just going to fight you less, and wheel bearings tend to fight you often pretty good anyway, so any steps you can take to reduce that fighting, you definitely want to. Alright, so wheels off. First order business is going to be removing this caliper here. Got the electric ratchet. Should probably turn it to taking it off instead of putting it on. Kind of try to neutral drop, see if we can get it. Oh, it doesn't look like that's going to be it today. And two. So, there's that. For some reason, this thing creates really a lot of brake dust, and I don't know why. All this is covered in brake dust, and my wheels are constantly covered in brake dust as well, so not really sure what the deal is there. Use brand new pads, rotors, all that stuff, and obviously, I mean, as you guys can see here, the pads aren't excessively worn down at all. Now, this is a couple thousand miles of driving, nothing really, so who really knows what's going on? But either way, got this removed. So now go ahead and grab a Phillips head. Gonna pull this off, and then also I believe these are 15s or 16s to remove the carrier bracket, because we're gonna have to remove the rotor so that we can access the wheel bearing. All right, so I was correct, both 15 millimeters, that was the size. So good thing my memory served me right, but there we go. So here's the rotor, there's the carrier, set them off to the side, and here is our hub for our wheel bearing. So we're gonna have to be removing this and the actual bearing out of the truck. So we're going to have to pull this 30 millimeter off so that we can access that. And then also I'm gonna go ahead and remove this 17 millimeter, and then we should be able to pull the strut out, which will allow us to pull the axle out of the spindle control arm whole entire setup. All right, so went ahead and removed this actually 18 millimeter. I do apologize, didn't realize that was an 18, but got that removed. We were able to pull this out. That worked great. Honestly, so much easier than actually pulling out these bolts and pulling the ball joint apart, messing up the alignment, all that stuff. Don't want any of that. So we were able to get the axle out here, and we now have our assembly that we were able to access. Now, if you guys can hear right in here, I'll try to see if you guys can hear this. You hear that noise? You're not really supposed to hear it. Number one, you shouldn't be able to spin this quite this fast. That's already a sign of that these are worn, but also there is a slight noise there. I don't know if you guys can hear it on the camera, but that is kind of an issue as well. So definitely want to get these things replaced. Now, they are not like super like clunky and full-blown blown out, but they are definitely in need of replacement. So we're gonna go ahead and do this, just that. So the first step is a little bit aggressive. I'm not gonna skip through this. I'm gonna show you guys how this is, because this is how I'm doing it, and I'm not gonna glaze over it and pretend that it's something it's not. So first part is we're gonna take a hammer, and we're gonna have to hit this. We're going to have to hit the hub out. The bearing is probably gonna come apart, and that's what they typically do. You'll have to cut the race off of the hub. But like I said, I'm gonna show you guys the raw way of doing this, and this is how I do it. I'm not saying this is 100% perfect or necessarily the right way to do it, but this is a way that I have been figured out how to do, and I've done multiple this way, and it has worked. So this is how we're gonna do it. So first off, gotta hit this out. So all right, so quite a lot of hammering later, we have removed the actual hub here. So like I said, hit it a lot. As you can see on the edges, I did mar it up a little bit. So hopefully this is all okay. Like I said, you know, I'm teaching you how to do this, but don't do what I'm doing. You should honestly probably get a new one of these, but we're gonna use this. If there's an issue, I will get a new one, but I think we should be okay. But like I said, it was just a bunch of hitting, and then finally we're able to get this to come out. So first step of that done. I'm gonna try to give you guys the best look at this as you can, but as you can see right in here, right about there, we have a snap ring. There you can see. So we have to remove that to do this wheel bearing job. So go ahead, this is snap ring pliers, has two little, hangs on it. Go ahead and pull that in to be able to remove this. Now I'll turn it, hopefully you guys can see, but you stick it into these two little holes here, and then go ahead and pull the tool inward, and then try to work the tool out. But we'll give it a try anyway. I think it might be working. All right, there we go. So there's our snap ring, got that removed here. Now we'll be able to remove the bearing itself finally. This is the last step to actually getting the bearing pulled out here. Now we've also got a snap ring over here on the front, so same exact thing as the back. Just gonna go ahead and pull this. This one also is probably gonna be pretty seized, given how old this is. Oh man, this one is quite seized. All right, give me a minute. I might have to work this one out. This is the problems you have to deal with when you work on cars of this vintage, so don't be surprised that I'm dealing with this. You're probably gonna deal with the exact same thing, or maybe worse, because this thing has already been apart quite a lot, and we're still fighting with these issues. All right, so task failed successfully, I guess. Went ahead and was just tapping on it with the old hammer and screwdriver, and the edge of it broke off, but it also relieved itself from in here, so I don't know, I'm gonna call that a win, I guess. Got that out. So now at this point in time, we are all ready to actually remove the bearing itself. Now when you get your kit here, this is not everything that's gonna be in it, because this is what's left that we didn't use. Over here, actually, Sit it back here. This right here is all the things we're going to be needing for doing this job. So first part of it is going to be this cup here. So this is the number 18. And this is what we're going to set over top of the actual hub right there to put the bearing into when we push it out. So that's what that part does. Now we have the little cup here. Now this is going to sit on the inside of the bearing right in there, and this is what's actually going to push it out. Then we also have this, which this is going to sit on the outside, sets into this cup right here. This one is number 001, and this one is number 11. And then we have the bolt itself here, and the bolt is going to go through here, through all that stuff, and we're going to be able to pull it out that way with an impact. And then we also have a washer and another washer. And there is a nut right here that you use to tighten it all together. So now as far as setting the tool up on the vehicle, it may be a little difficult, but first off, take this and the bolt, slide the bolt through there, right like that. Don't forget your washer. But go ahead then, take the cup here, put that over top and set that in there. Then go ahead and set this through here. We're then going to take this one, which I have, as I mentioned, number 11. Go ahead and set that on the inside there. And you want one that's like loosely fitting kind of, but not too loose, but not too tight. When you're taking out the old bearing, it doesn't matter quite as much, but when you're putting a new bearing, it does, because you don't want to mess this one up. Obviously, this old bearing I don't care about. But final thing is the nut here, and go ahead and put that over top. You're gonna have a little bit of difficulty here getting this one on, just because of the axle being in the way in a bit. So this may be a 1.8 turbo problem. This may be a general problem, but I'm just letting you guys know as we're doing it here. I'm kind of learning as well as you guys are. I haven't done this a ton. I have used this tool in the past, but not very much. So go ahead and tighten this all up by hand here. Go ahead and just loosely attach it. Now, this end bolt here is going to be you can see on here, right there. This is 1.25 inches, so quite a large socket, but got that on the old, Bauer Harbor Freight, because I'm not buying a Milwaukee 1/2-inch impact for my use at home. I have one at work, but I don't use it enough at home to really justify spending that much money on an impact when I have one available to me in my dad's shop up top anyhow. So this one does the job and should do the job here today, I'm hoping, so fingers crossed on that. But gonna go ahead and just grab a pliers and hold the end of this, and then we're gonna go ahead and crank down on this and see what happens. That was a lot of noise, and I'm sure a lot more on camera, but got the bearing pulled out here, so let's see what we're working with. All right, so took the tool apart. As you can see here, here's our old bearing, and now I can show you guys a little bit better of what I mean by this. So here's this number 11. As you can see, this sits right inside here, and this sits right around the edge. Now, when you're pushing on this, you're pushing on, as you can see, it's just slightly smaller than it, and it's pushing on the edge of this, which is the metal casing, I guess you could call it, to the bearing, and this is what's holding it. So when you're pushing on that, you're not pushing on the actual inside of the bearing or on the rubber seal and damaging it. You're just pushing on the outside of the bearing, and therefore you are not harming anything. As obviously, at the condition of this thing, we're not really that worried about it, but it's good practice to do things the right way, even when you don't have to, because then when you're putting it back together, you already know you're doing it the right way. All right, so got it all cleaned out here. Pretty good, should be good enough for that. Now we're going to go ahead and go upstairs here. Alrighty, so there's the one we need. So just gonna grab this one. These things are nice and cold, so this should make this a lot easier to install. All right, so for one, you can see these frosting because of how cold they are, but want to pay attention to these little nubs. Like as you can see here, there's this little ribbed edge. I don't know if it matters or not, but we're gonna go ahead and match it up. So that's where we have it on that one. As you can see, this is this one. Now, because we pulled it out of the front, we know that this is the front. So you're going to want to go ahead and put this to the front, which means that when we push it in, we are going to want to make sure that we have this facing towards the front. All right, so I'm trying to work as quickly as possible because we're working with this cold bearing, but went ahead and got the plate, the size up from this one to set on the back here, and then we have the bolt facing that direction, got the stud out to here, and at this point we're gonna go ahead, I use the exact same number 11, got the bearing in, and we just tapped it a little bit, just tapped on either side of it here, and we're just able to get it to set in. So now at this point, I'm gonna go ahead and grab the impact once again, and grab pliers once again, hold the end, and start to press this in. All right, knew that was gonna happen, so gonna have to go from the back side, but you can see, slowly making our way to press this in here. Not sure where we're at there, so I'm gonna go ahead and pull this apart and check on it and see. Obviously we push it in, I just want to make sure that we have it at the right location. All right, so I ended up actually taking this apart, and it's the same exact process as taking it out. I went ahead and threw the snap ring in on the rear because with these bearings, there's nothing to stop them. So when you're pushing it in, you don't want to push it too far. So I went ahead and put that snap ring in there, so then we can tighten this the whole way up, and it'll go into the snap ring instead of going too far. Because if it goes too far, that's going to be a mess. We don't want to deal with that. So now that we've done that, I'm going to go ahead and crank on this a little bit more, and it should be good to go. Let's see where we're at here, but should be getting close. Exceptionally close. So just a tiny little bit more, and we should be where we want to be. All right. Go ahead and remove this here. All right, so hopefully you guys can see here. You probably can't, but right there, oh yeah, you can. There, right there, you see that little groove? That's where we want to push this into, because that is where we need to be so that we can put the snap ring in. Now, I do have a new snap ring because obviously we did break the other one when we were removing it, so, you know, right there. There we go. All right, so now we're gonna go ahead and take this snap ring. These things are kind of a pain just in general. They're a pain to take out, they're a pain to put back in, but just like that. But don't give up. You'll get it eventually. Sometimes you gotta kind of like halfway push it in, because the problem is that when you use the tool, sometimes it doesn't want to stay in. This one's being a lot more cooperative than it should be, of course, because I'm videoing it. It's going better than usual. Usually is an absolute pain, but hey, whatever, take what I can get. But now go ahead and just take a screwdriver, snap on this till it clicks into place, which we may be at that point. Not quite sure. It's really hard to tell sometimes when you have them in place at the right amount or not. We need to go a little bit more. All right, so got it clipped in, all good here. Use a combination of actually this tool, set it in here, and I hit on it with a hammer, and that was able to push the snap ring in to where it clicked in. And then after that, just used a screwdriver and kind of pushed it all around the edge, made sure it was all good. But now at this point, bearings are spinning nicely, not hearing any crunchy noises, which is a good thing. And at this point, that snap ring's in the front. Now back on the back here, you can see, got that in there as well. So at this point, the bearing install is complete. Now at this point, what we just have to do is get this race off of here. So we're gonna have to hammer or cut or something to get that off. Then we'll be able to pop this in here. And then at that point, that's gonna conclude the wheel bearing install. All right, so bearing is all installed. And as I mentioned to you guys, we have the hub right here with this race on it. Now, number one, we're going to save ourselves the hassle of cutting this off. But number two, after the way that I beat on this, after thinking about it, it's not the greatest idea to put that back on here. I'm afraid I may have damaged it at some point, for one. And for two, it's going to be way easier to just pick up new hubs. I just checked online. They're about $30 a piece, which is really not bad. For both sides, going to be $60 plus shipping. Can't really complain too loud about that. So gonna go ahead and get those ordered, and we're gonna go ahead and do that. I am going to be leaving for vacation for a couple of days anyway, so I've got plenty of time to wait for this. I don't have anywhere to be with this truck. This thing could sit here in the garage. When I get back, we'll have the new parts and we'll go ahead and throw this thing the rest of the way together. Okay, so it is exactly almost 1 week. It's been 6 days since the last clip that I filmed. Back from vacation, and truck is obviously sitting in the exact same spot that it has been sitting before. Now, I was hoping this is currently a Monday night, so I was hoping to have this done over the weekend. However, I did end up getting myself involved in a new purchase that you guys are going to probably see on the channel here at some point. But I was busy with that over the weekend and I didn't really get time to finish this out. But either way, here we are. So the parts showed up that we needed. So let's see here. Get this out of the packaging. All right, there we go. So set these two side by side. I don't know. To me, it looks as though that's gonna work and that's what we need. So that's good. But if we pull the bearing off here, as you can see, this is stuck on here, and obviously this is way nicer than what we are currently working with. Another added bonus is that we're going to get some fresh new threads, and these are our male, so these are OEM spec parts, which I always like to use those if possible. Sometimes it's not the case, but in this case we were able to do that, so that worked out quite well. We're actually going to go ahead and throw these hubs into the freezer as well, because it will cause the metal to contract, and because we have to push these hubs into the bearings, we're going to want that added extra little bit of making things easier, because we don't want to make anything harder for ourselves than we already have to. So I'm going to go ahead, get these thrown in the freezer for 10-15 minutes or so. Then after that, go ahead and push this one in, get the new caliper and all the rest of this side put back together. And then after that, we'll move on to the other side. Go ahead and let you guys chill in here for a little bit, and then we'll come back and grab them and we'll go ahead and install them. All right, so moving fast once again because we've got cold parts, but these things have been sitting for about 15 minutes. So went ahead and grabbed this one, and we're gonna go ahead and install it. So right here, just gonna wanna go ahead and line this up. And there is one thing that I would like to do, and that is put some lubricant on this. So just went ahead and got some all-purpose grease, put this on here. So now we're gonna be ready to go. So basically the first thing to do is just center this thing in here as best as we can, and then tap on it a little bit. Just kind of get it started in here. Just like so. Then I've actually set this up in this manner to do this. So we have the, let's see if we can see the number here. The number 001 plate here on the outside with the washer, obviously the bolt. And then we have the number 11 plate here and the nut on the end, obviously. So I'm gonna go ahead and take the nut off, and take these plates off here. Go ahead and slide this through like so. Then go ahead and take our number 11 plate here, put that over on the edge like so. The washer, and take the nut, go ahead and thread this on by hand like so. And then we're gonna go ahead and take our impact with our 1.25 inch socket right here. So we're then just gonna go ahead and grab, just very similar to pressing in the bearing. Pliers hold that. Let's go ahead and do that. I'm gonna turn this thing up all the way, but just like that, all tightened up. So go ahead and back this off, just like so. Go ahead and pull all of these pieces of this contraption out of the way. And there we have it. Our fresh new bearing pressed in here. So now at this point, we're gonna go ahead and grab our axle. Go ahead and do that. So I'm gonna grab the snips, and we're gonna cut the zip tie holding the axle up. We're gonna go ahead and tighten this down and really pull it all together 100% with the axle nut. All right, so grab our snips here. Go ahead and cut this zip tie. Let this come down. And then we're gonna have to go ahead and pull our control arm back out of the body here. I did push it back in for ease of work earlier. So go ahead and just maneuver this around. And then just kind of yucks it around in here a little bit. And then there we go. I can push this back in right like that. This caliper's in the way. Then we're going to go ahead and I did get a new nut in with the kit. And also here's our old washer. So go ahead, throw old washer on. Go ahead and throw our 30mm on. So we're going to go ahead and remove this one. Jeez, that's tight on there. I don't know why that was so tight on my impact. But go ahead and put the 30mm on here if I can manage to do that. There we go. And then go ahead, tighten this thing down. And this caliper's falling all over the place. There we go, just like so. Check to see right here. Obviously, we don't have any play because we got brand new bearing, so we don't want to see any play. But as you guys can see right here, I'll give you guys a little bit of a closer look. But absolutely zero play whatsoever. Feels pretty good. Oh, yeah, that's just the transmission noise, but it's not tight and absolutely zero play. So I'm going to call that good to go. We're going to go ahead, get this rotor thrown back on the carrier, and then we'll go ahead and install the brand new calipers. Well, the caliper on this side, I should say. And then that will conclude this side. Then we'll be able to move on to the other side. All right, so all bled up, and the final touch right here. There we go. Got the little cap there. So that's going to conclude this whole entire side. Now, obviously, you know, spinning freely, so caliper's not hanging up. Nice to have this fresh caliper on here, and I do believe that this caliper is actually bad. This was the side that I believe is the issue. But either way, now got fresh new hub, new wheel bearing, new brake caliper. Obviously, as you can see, we got new coilovers, which you guys saw us install in one video. Got new brake hoses, got relatively new rotors and pads, brand new tie rods. We've got all the new stuff, new ball joints, new tie rod ends. So everything is new, and that's how we like it. So on this vehicle, now we have finally pretty much completed a suspension overhaul. There's one more thing I'd like to do, and that is get a new axle for the passenger side. The driver's side is new. The passenger side is not new. Once we do that, everything should be good, and I'm hoping, now that all this stuff is brand new, we won't really have any issues, at least for a good bit of time. All right, so as you guys can see here, it's all back on the ground, all back together, and everything seems to be pretty good. Got the new brake caliper on this side installed. Got that all bled. That all feels good. Everything looks all right. So at this point, there's only one thing left to do, and that's going to be to go take this thing out for a drive. As you guys can see, or can't see out here, I should say, is that it is night outside. So you guys aren't really going to be able to see me. I'm just going to go ahead and go out and drive this, let you guys know what happens, because you're not really going to be able to see inside this truck in the dark of the night. It's not really going to be very, you know, productive for you guys being able to really see anything. So I'm going to go out, test drive this thing. When I come back, I'll let you guys know how it goes, and if the whole louder noise is solved, and also if nothing flies apart. So I drove the truck around all day today. As you can see, it of course had to rain right before I brought it into the garage, and then stopped right after. So that's lovely. But drove the truck all around today and did absolutely amazing. Haven't noticed any issues with the new wheel bearings. Just jacked it up and checked after about 50 miles of driving, and we have no play at all whatsoever up and down, which means our bearings are 100%, and that means that this install was fully successful. So I hope that I was able to teach you guys something, and now I tested it and I showed you that the way that I did it, while it may not be the right way, or it may not be the way that someone else may do it, the way I did it is definitely correct, because, well, we drove it, we have no issues, and everything seems good, not really noticing any other issues that weren't present before. So I'm going to call it good, and I'm going to say that we did what we set out to do. So like I said, I hope that this helped one of you guys to be able to do this. Obviously, you can pick this tool up at Harbor Freight, and if you're in a pinch and you need this done and you don't have a hydraulic press, this is definitely a really, really good option, and it can get the job done and relatively cheaply, because some people, A, don't have room for a press, or B, don't want to buy one. So this tool, not $1 million, so definitely is going to be the way to go, in my opinion, on this. I don't have a press, and this worked great for this. So again, hope this was able to help some of you guys out, and I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Appreciate y'all for watching, and stay tuned for next one. Peace.